Yeah. If you're listening to the sound of my voice right now, then you're tuned into the dailybreadproject.com. I'm stoked that you guys are here. I've got another amazing guest for you. And we're going to bring this thing live to Facebook. I'm going to try something a little different today. So wouldn't be surprised if I break things. And that's how you know you're growing, is when you're breaking things and stretching and going beyond your comfort zone. So I'm going to try that today by streaming this one to our Facebook page, The Podcast Factory. I'm going to bring in our guest and bring this stream live so we can rock and roll, bring you the light, bring you your bread, bring you your daily nourishment. Let's see. So I'm going to promote him to panelist, and I'm going to bring this thing live to Facebook and keep my fingers crossed that it all works. It's part of it is already working. I see that you are
Amen.
almost there. He is. There he is. So I'm going to bring this thing to the page just to switch things up a little bit, and we'll see if that actually works. Just to hit up a new audience. And as soon as this goes live, I'll do the intro and we'll rock into this.
Okay.
Oh, it might actually be working. Let's see. All right, we're just going to go live right there onto the page. And if it all works, great. If it doesn't, I don't care. All that matters is that you, my dear listener, are here, and you, my dear guest, are here. So here we go. You are listening to the dailybreadproject.com. If you guys are here live on Facebook, welcome. I do not know how to interact live, so don't expect much from me. I'll interact afterwards. The only thing I have is full focus on bringing you the light daily. I can't do it by myself. I've got to enlist friends, other leaders, other winners to bring the light. And I just figured this out. I couldn't sleep last night. I actually woke up around 4 this morning thinking about what this light thing is. And it's love in good times and hard times. All right, so guys, I had something for the tea, but I can't remember it now. I wrote it down, so I'll have to bring it later. But I have a special guest for you today. I have a guy that is a friend, is a leader, is a dad, is a husband, is a guy that lives life on his own terms and is bringing that to the world, showing the world other men like you and me, other fathers that want to be more present, teaching them how they can have it all. And that's why I've always been fascinated with this guy, Mr. Bob Holdsworth. What's up?
How are you, sir?
I'm awesome.
Happy week 4 of quarantine.
Is that where we're at, dude?
Somewhere.
I've lost track of time.
I don't know.
I've totally lost track. I'm so here's let's talk about this. If you want to start right there, I've lost track of time because this is now my new normal. What's your new normal look like?
Well, I was working from home before it was cool, so it's just kind of one of those things, as do you. So, but yeah, it is. My wife and I the other day were always like, what is today? And like, oh crap, it's Monday.
They're all blending together, aren't they?
It really is. The kids are home, so they're it's either they have school that they have to log into or they don't. But yeah, you actually have to pay attention to the calendar a little bit.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I remembered it. Uh, leading in good and hard times, light. And
Yes.
so these are hard times right here. You're leading, and I want to give you a compliment. Nobody's done this, and I wasn't ignoring you. It's just that I really I really didn't look at it till today. This man brought. I mean, this guy brought the goods. He brought a quote from the Bible. He brought some topics. And I'm like, dude, make my job a little easier. Why don't you? So I love it. And I'm going to read this right here. Matthew 7:14. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. What made you share that with me and our Daily Bread listeners?
Well, I've been watching the episodes and listening to them, and I went looking for a quote that both kind of matches what I do for work and what would match the project. And the reality is, not only as we're talking about the Bible and people finding the gates of heaven, but we're also talking about people who are willing to do the work and take the narrow road to the success that they want in life and business. So very few are willing to do it. Very few find it. A lot of people say they want it, but they're not willing to do it. And my whole, coaching practice of take the strong road just fit with that. So I figured I'd send it over, and if it resonated with you, it would make it to the air, and if it didn't, it would make it to the wastebasket. So obviously, it resonated.
Bro, I opened that up and I'm like, show planned, show notes. All I got to do is now hang out. Okay, I'm down.
Yeah, put on the magic hat and get in front of the microphone. We're all good.
That's it. And that's folks, if you want to see leadership, this guy's leading the conversation right here. These are the things that resonate with me. These are the things I want to bring to this show. And he put them out there. Take it or leave it. And so I for one appreciate that very much. And if you guys don't know, it's takethestrongroad.com
Yep.
to find Bob's coaching practice and other information. Takethestrongroad.com. And this guy has been a leader ever since I met him. I remember I was fascinated by you when I say this every single time that we
You
talk.
do, yes.
Every single, but it's that important that I want everybody to hear it. It's hey, we were the only 2-parent teams doing all the soccer, doing all the events and all that stuff. And it inspired me to, dude, every time I got it, well, it's not every time, just about every morning walking the boy to school, me and mommy and the boy, because I am proud to be the 2-person team taking the kid to school every morning and kind of flaunting that we put our life together with our priorities first. And it always resonated.
And very few people, everybody says they want it, but very few people are willing to actually put their foot down, plant a flag in the front yard and say, this is what I'm doing. Because they're afraid that the world is going to not resonate that. They're not going to accept it. They're not going to support it. And the reality is just the opposite is true. If you do it right, the world goes, damn, how come I can't do that? Well, you can. You just have to want it.
I was going to challenge you because I would say that most of the naysayers out there, like those guys are drug dealers or something. Why are they doing that? But you're right. If you're in the right environment, if you're around the right, winners want other people to win too. I mean, this is not a zero-sum game. Like I want to see you champion up, and I love to see you win.
Well, the point is, people always say that they can't, they won't, or whatever. And you're right. You can set a standard, and other people can choose to follow it or not. And our friend Dan, Doberman Dan, he works from home, has for years and years and years. And I love this story that he tells, which is he actually cracked me up. I had a mouthful of soda at the time. That first time I heard him do it. And he's like, listen, I'm an ex-cop married to a Colombian living at home. And I'm like, you do your own math. And he never let the neighbors he never told them what he did. He just let them wonder. But nobody broke into his house either. So that was a good thing.
Yeah, I'm sure they were definitely afraid. And if they heard Doberman Dan, they probably thought he had a big dog too.
You think he has a big dog, but it's not. No.
Yeah. I've been I've been rapping with him. He's been hitting me up on email. I'm like, come on, man, come out of your hermit cave and come bring the light. But he's still kind of hiding out in his bunker as he likes.
Change the bait. He'll open the door.
That's what it is, right?
Yep.
That's what it is. Cool. So let's see what you have sent over here. Great. So let's jump into this because we've actually been talking about this a lot. And the topic is consumer versus creator. And one of the things that you brought here was watching Netflix or expanding your network. And I think people have said for years, if I only had the time, now they have time. What are they doing with that time? What do you think is going on out there?
It's amazing to me to be talking to people now. And there's a few people who are stepping up and saying, you know what, I can connect, I can write, I can go learn something. And there's a whole bunch of people that are complaining about, I don't have a paycheck and I don't have My business is on hold, but they binged watched a season of something. And it's the old adage, I have no money, I have no money, I just bought a big screen TV. Well, it's all about your priorities. So if your priority is, I'm going to use 3 or 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever it is to retool my business, think through what I want out of my life, and what I'm not going to. I just wrote an article called "Clean Your Mental Closet," and it's up on Medium. But it's what do you want going forward? What's not going to work for you anymore? What are the toxic relationships that you've been forcibly disconnected from? Do you want to re-engage when you come out of your hermit status, to use your words, or do you want to go, they were toxic, I feel better, and go purge a lot of different things from work and from personal life, and move forward. I watch a little bit of television. I watch the same amount of television I was watching before, and I'm getting shit done.
To put it bluntly.
Well,
I see that trend though. That is an interesting trend that I'm spotting right now. And of course, it's easy for me to say I live in a bubble. Like I'm in a bubble right now, and the Daily Bread Project is a bubble where winners come to share how they're winning and bringing the light. And that was brought to my attention just yesterday on an interview. Is like, yeah, well, I mean, all the people you have on the show all seem like really chill right now. I'm like, yeah, that's the idea. This is the time to be chill because everybody else is losing their minds.
That's exactly right. There's an old adage that says, the M in masses is silent. You may not necessarily want to follow them.
Oh, that's too good. That's too good. And you know what you just reminded me of, and I want to share this with our listeners. If you're tuning in on Facebook or you're listening to the podcast later on, I was listening to some Jim Rohn this morning. And so he said, how much did that new, it was a story he was telling about a guy. He says, how much did that new TV cost you? It's a beautiful TV, $400. He's like, no, I think that new TV cost you about $40,000 in opportunity because you're sitting there binge watching and things like that. And I don't think people do the math correctly on that. And so I want to go to the other side of consumption though. Like you said, you just wrote an article. I know you put out articles, you put out emails.
Yeah.
You've even done podcasts. You're doing an interview right now. You set me up with some things to talk about. You can't do that without consuming, though. I mean, you're going to get tapped out. So how do you curate your consumption?
Ooh, look at you. I am selective about what goes in my head. I watch a little bit of news just to get the update. I watch it with a very jaundiced eye, because I used to be in that business, so I know how it gets edited to make it sell, but not necessarily tell the whole story. And I'm glad I'm not in that business anymore. But I also spend a lot of time researching and reading. I don't get it done as much as I used to, but I still try to read a book a week. I don't get there. Last year was only 42.
Oh my.
But it's different genres. But I have done that religiously for a decade. Try to get as many as possible. So, Trump, whether you like him or hate him, used to have a question when you'd run into him. And his question would be, what are the 3 books you're reading right now? And people would always get confused with that question. What do you mean 3 books? And I looked at my desk and I looked at my nightstand and I realized I've got one for pleasure. I've got one for personal development. I've got one for business. And I'll pick one up and I'll read a couple of chapters and I'll put it back down. And, now with a little more time, I've got the personal one and I'm doing a little more reading with that one. And right now I'm reading Mike Rowe's book, The Way I Heard It. So it's a funny book. It just puts things in perspective. But most people, the average person, will read maybe 5 to 10 books a year, and they'll never finish them. Maybe. Well, the statistics in the publishing industry are people, when they get out of high school, read an average of less than 5 books per year from the time they get out of high school till they die. Right? So you think about that, and a lot of that is, I read Harry Potter, I read the series. Great from a creativity perspective, but I don't know that you could arguably say that necessarily moved your career forward, unless, of course, you are a wizard or a magician, in which case maybe it did.
And you know what? I have to force myself, and you just reminded me. I'm going to add it to my list. I have to force myself to read fiction. It's like, why am I wasting my time with this? I know it's not a complete waste of time, but I'd rather be in personal development or other spaces. It's hard for me to do the fiction thing.
The way I look at it is, we are all in the storytelling business. If you're in marketing, in sales, which we all are, whether you're selling your business or you're selling yourself to, the date that you're on, we're all marketing something. And telling a good story is important, and being a good writer is important. So fiction for me is a mind break, and I get lost in the character and the story, and I watch the development. But I also look at how other people phrase things, and I look at what sells. So if you buy a book that's selling 1 million copies, you can learn a lot from the way that person wrote that book. Whether it has anything to do with business, it just enhances your ability to tell a story. So that's kind of I could classify it as a business book for me, but it's just a mind break for me when I read a Tom Clancy book or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. You talked me into it. Let me just add another one to the stack now.
Yeah, I mean, you got another half an hour. I'll add to your to-do list, no problem.
It's expanding as we speak. So check this out. It's funny, one of the topics that you brought to me, and I want to talk about it, but I'm going to rewind to about 2 weeks ago. Before, well, I mean, it was already going crazy. You said we're like in week 4, so I don't even know the time frame anyway. But things were changing quickly, and what we noticed at the Podcast Factory was downloads of podcasts were actually diminishing, and so people were getting less downloads. And instantly, we went to look at everybody's shows, because we have data across, I don't know, 30 shows or something, and we saw the trend that downloads were diminishing. And we looked at it and we said, well, people are out of their routine. I mean, these people consume you at the gym, or they on the way to work, or as they're running errands. And so they're completely out of their routine. So this is we're all going to take a hit. And my advice to the Podcast Factory family was, they're going to go to social media. They're going to go to social media. So you got to start posting more. You got to put videos up. You got to get out there, because as they're flicking through the screen, or you got to email more, they're going to be on that phone goofing off. And one of your things that you wrote here was, are you searching for memes or expanding your mind? And so, dude, like, I mean, how are you expanding your mind right now? Or are you searching for memes? I don't know. Is that your bag?
I look for memes that are related to what it is that I'm writing. Or I'll post something, I'll find something, I'll trip over something, and I'll save it. And I've got a file that's probably got 10 or 15, at this point, 10 or 15 in them. And I'll pull them out and I'll put it up just randomly, because people just need to laugh. So I'll put something out and make some comment. Like the other day, I posted the original packaging marketing piece for WD-40. Has nothing to do with anything. So I just said, if anybody's going to be doing a home improvement project, you might want to see where the history of it. And there is no way that anybody could write that these days, because of the sexual innuendo in the marketing copy. But it was just, people went absolutely nuts passing it around, and it was just funny. It made them laugh. So I'm looking for more engagement with the audience. And sometimes it's, hey, here's a service. Sometimes it's just, hey, here's some information you might want to think about. And sometimes it's just, listen, just chuckle, laugh, have some fun with each other.
Now, where did you post that? Because obviously I missed it. I would remember that.
Yes, it is on one of my personal page, but I will send it to you so you can share it with the world.
Yes, please do. I can't wait to see that. One of
I
my
actually, I actually had a patent attorney friend of mine call me up and he goes, "Is this for real?" And I'm like, "To the best of my knowledge, yes."
oh man, that is great. That
Yeah,
is
I'll send it
great.
to you after the show. You can do what you want with it, but it's hysterical.
I am going to. I'm going to put that in the show notes. Is what I'm going to do.
Okay.
So, all right. So let's talk about how you're staying positive these days. So you said that you were in the media business and you find a way to watch news and still protect your mind. So how do you stay positive while the whole world is kind of a little wacky?
Look around at, the small blessings every day. You look around, I told people ask all the time, how you doing, what's going on? And I'm like, listen, I got a roof over my head. Everybody's healthy at this point. We have food. We're going through the national stockpile in the basement, kind of thing. And we got enough Tito's and enough toilet paper. So, I mean, we're good.
That makes it
You know?
easier. If you got the
Yeah, I mean,
Tito's, you can make
there are no emergencies at this point.
it. Perspective, right?
It
It's
is
a
perspective. But I mean, we took I'll do a couple of hours of work. We'll take a break, have lunch. The kids are around, whatever. And we'll play a game or something like that. But we're playing a word game, or we're playing. I have a chess tournament later that I'm going to get my ass handed to me by my son. So we'll play a couple of games of chess and stuff like that. And
how
then
old are
I'll come
the
back in and get
boys?
more work done.
It's twin boys, right?
I have twin boys, 17.
Oh man, yeah.
So
And
they're
that's the
really
other thing.
they're all bummed out because they're missing prom and senior year and all that rites of passage stuff.
So how do you help them get through that? That's kind of interesting. I hadn't considered that.
It just there is nothing. It's other than it's an event that, yes, I wish you could go to. There were a lot of people who, even if there wasn't a pandemic, wouldn't be going to their prom. The sharing of graduation. I was like, you guys want to get your cap and gown, and when we do the virtual one, you can toss it up in the air here in the living room. That's fine. But and they're not able to go to work because what they do, they're under 18, so they got bumped out of what they were doing for work for right now. So you kind of have to take it in stride, and it's a life lesson, and not everything goes as planned, and we're kind of talking about that stuff. There's what you want, there's what you get, and there's what you can control about it, and you can only control how you react to it.
And are they taking that lesson to heart, the controlling how you react? Because
Moment
they're
by
young.
moment, moment by moment.
Yeah, it
um,
depends.
the inability to to go see their girlfriends, or the inability to go to work and see the people at work and all that stuff. They're back online with their peers in classrooms, so they see each other, and they're picking on each other and stuff like that. It would probably be a lot tougher if this had been 10, 15 years ago, when we did not have, you know, this as robust a system of electronics to stay in touch.
Yeah.
The entire world has moved to Zoom and GoToMeeting.
It's
But if you think back 10 years ago, it was clunky at best, if it was even in existence. So we really would be isolated more than we are now. I can at least see you and talk to you rather than just a phone call.
yeah, it's kind of amazing actually to see all these schools. Even our son Huddy is doing circle time, probably right now behind me in the bedroom over there. Circle time through Zoom.
Yeah,
Teachers reading them a book, and all the kids' little heads are in the Zoom window, and they're
yeah.
connected.
And so it's taken, you don't have to like it, but it's taking some of the sting out um, of the event. And you have a choice. I mean, people can sit and stew in their own juices and be pissed off and I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't. Or you can focus on, there's a whole bunch of things I can do. Now I have to make a list of which ones I'm going to do. And I tend to be in that camp.
Brother, you're part of it right now. This is what we can do. Bring
Yeah.
some positivity, bring some light, bring another perspective that people are definitely not going to get from Netflix, from the daily news, from
No,
their newspaper, or from their neighbors.
no, not at all.
So this is like leadership in action. So I want to talk a little bit about leadership. Now, when we first met, you used to have and it might have been right before that, but you had a bigger practice, bigger team, and all that. Now you've kind of leaned down with the new business. How is your leadership style different, if at all, these days?
I did. I to go back in time a little bit. I had a very large medical billing practice. I had 20 some odd employees, and we sold it in 2017. So built it from scratch over the years, built a great team. When we sold it, we took care of them and our clients. And then because those two things fell into place, we knew that the deal was going to be it's going to be good enough for Jen and me and the family. So now it's I don't have a team to lead, um, but I do have clients. I have clients with teams. I have an example to set to show people that what it is that I talk about is possible. And now with the platform, the Strong Road platform, I literally have the stuff that you and I did together several years ago, the On Your Own Terms piece. It's almost repackaged in a little bit different, a different mindset and a different delivery message, but it comes back to the same thing. It's be strong enough to get what you want from your life. Be strong enough to do business on your own terms and stand up for something, and be strong enough to realize that you can't do it alone and you need some help, and reach out for that help, whomever that is. If it's me, I'd be happy to work with you. If it's not me, let me point you in a direction to somebody. And that in itself is selfless leadership. It's like you can sit there and go mine, but the reality is you're not all things to all people.
Gosh, so we're coming close to the end, but you just brought something up that I think is super interesting. I'd love to get your perspective on. I record a daily talk from the park, and I was thinking about this today where things are changing, people are reacting, and I was telling the people that were watching the videos, watch who you're watching. Like the people that have been leaders or have the flashy cars or the big teams of millions of bucks, watch them crumble right now.
Yeah.
Watch them fall apart. Watch them just go nuclear and melt down. And so, I mean, are you seeing that anywhere? Are you seeing people that were playing the part just falling apart now?
Um, the the crashes and burns, while spectacular, don't make the news quite as much as the inspirational story of the guy with a jet who's flying the sick kid someplace. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are not in a position to be able to learn how to pivot. They've surrounded themselves with yes people, and yes people run away at the first sign of for first sign of problems. And there are a lot of posers out there. There really are. So I tell everybody, listen, if you're going to hire somebody to help you with something, whoever it is, make sure that they resonate and you guys you can communicate with them. If they say stuff and they posture and they whatever, if you're good with that, then fine. If not, run. Um,
Like hell.
yeah, I mean, that is a good time to put on the sneakers and get the hell out of there. But it's important for you. Like, for example, I have a personal thing about all the books I read, and you can see part of the books behind me, and there's a few more over
Yeah.
there. But I make it a point that I will only buy books from business leaders or other leaders that were written by them, and I don't buy the books that were, Sally interviewed, Lee Iacocca and is telling the Lee Iacocca story. I, I don't want to read that. I want to read the story from the guy or the girl who actually did it, in their words, with all the bumps and warts and problems and everything else. because you really do learn more from the things you screw up than the things that that were easy.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you're showing up, man. I love that you're here bringing the light and the leadership. Brother, as we're wrapping up, anything else you want to say?
Not just everybody stay healthy. I being in healthcare for so long, you have to take things with a grain of salt. The stuff that's out there is, they're talking about how many deaths, how many cases, and whatever. What they're not talking about is how many people are recovered, and nobody's done the math yet to realize that we're at, 1/10 of 1% of the U.S. population has been affected by this. You almost have a better chance of getting hit by lightning than this. Um, but it is important to take precautions because you never know who is potentially going to infect you and who's not. Not to belittle it at all, but don't panic. Just kind of work your way through it. And we also are doing something that if anybody wants to talk, we're doing free 30-minute pep talk sessions. And I'll send you over the link that you can put up if you want.
Put it on here so people can hear it. I don't know that anybody's reading the show notes.
Okay. It is takethestrongroad.com/pep talk session, PEP, talk session.
All one word?
All one word.
All right. Gang, listen closely. And if you need to reach out to me, I'll give you the link. takethestrongroad.com/pep talk session.
Right. And you can book a time and we'll hop on and we'll talk for 30 minutes, whatever you want to talk about. No rules, no charge.
Love it. So this has been the dailybreadproject.com. Thank you, Bob Holdsworth, for bringing the light. Thank you, everyone who tuned in on Facebook. Thank you for everyone that is supporting us on iTunes. I don't know who you are, but I love you guys. Awesome. I mean that. And we will be back in your earbuds next time. Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome. Thanks, man.